You think losing money is bad luck, miscalculation, or a cruel twist of fate, but every coin that slips away from your hand was already claimed long before you touched it. Loss, in the real world, is never random. It's designed. Every collapse has an architect, and every financial tragedy is someone else's quiet triumph. You call it misfortune. They call it timing. You call it crisis. They call it harvest. In every transaction, there is a hunter and there is a dreamer, and the dreamer always believes he's being hunted by chance, when in truth he's being guided by someone else's invisible hand. This is the first truth no one teaches you. Money does not move toward virtue. It moves toward strategy, the market, the economy, the endless game of gain and loss. It's all built upon emotion disguised as logic. And Machiavelli, centuries before stock markets and hedge funds, understood this with terrifying clarity. He saw that the strongest fortress was never made of stone, but of perception, the illusion of control that blinds men as they surrender their power piece by piece. Every empire, every bank, every corporation operates on the same quiet law. Wealth is transferred from the impulsive to the strategic. The world calls it capitalism. Machiavelli would call it human nature. Because deep inside, people are predictable, and predictability is the currency of manipulation. They crave reassurance, so they pay for promises. They fear loss, so they cling to safety even as it drains them. They confuse movement with progress, effort with value, honesty with wisdom. The system doesn't steal from them. It invites them to participate willingly in their own extraction. The illusion begins early. You are taught to work hard, to save diligently, to trust institutions, to believe that effort will somehow equal reward. But the truth is far colder. Effort without strategy feeds systems that reward perception, not contribution. You think you're building wealth, but you're feeding the machinery of someone else's advantage. Every hour you trade, every tax you pay, every subscription you forget to cancel, all of it contributes to a quiet equation you were never shown. Machiavelli would tell you that those who lose money do so because they worship rules, written by those who profit from obedience. The masses follow moral codes, fairness, transparency, integrity, because those codes were designed to make them predictable. Predictable people are easy to tax, easy to govern, easy to sell to. The powerful don't need to steal from them. They simply direct their fear. The modern prince doesn't conquer through armies. He conquers through algorithms. He studies behavior, not battlefields. He manipulates sentiment, not swords. And every time you react emotionally to a market crash, a headline, a trend, you play your part exactly as planned. Look around. The new feudal system doesn't wear crowns. It wears brands. Its castles are financial institutions, and its clergy are financial influencers. They preach patience, long-term loyalty, belief in the system. They teach you to stay the course, even as the course was designed to circle back to your own exhaustion. The lie is elegant because it flatters your virtue. It makes your obedience look noble. It tells you that being cautious, humble, and transparent is the path to stability, when in truth, it's the perfect camouflage for stagnation. Machiavelli knew that fear is the foundation of all control. He who understands fear, he wrote, commands value. That's why modern power doesn't need violence. It only needs volatility. Create fear, and people will hand over their autonomy in exchange for the illusion of safety. They'll accept lower returns, surrender their liquidity, obey advice they don't understand, because fear converts intelligence into paralysis. In financial markets, fear is the most profitable product ever invented. Every time you watch your portfolio drop, every time you panic sell, every time you delay an investment because it doesn't feel right, someone is quietly buying what you're too emotional to hold. The rich don't beat you by working harder. They beat you by staying colder. They study the same numbers you do, but they don't react to them. They understand that wealth flows toward whoever can remain calm while everyone else drowns in noise. The poor man watches prices. The rich man watches people. Because money itself is meaningless, it's only the visible symptom of invisible decisions. Those who master perception decide what others believe is valuable, and by extension, decide when others panic. The Machiavellian investor never asks, "Is this asset good?" He asks, "Who controls the story about it?" If he controls the narrative, he controls the price. If he doesn't, he waits, not out of passivity, but precision. He knows that patience is the most sophisticated form of aggression. Most people lose money because they mistake movement for progress. They chase trends, switch strategies, follow experts, and drown in complexity. Machiavelli would laugh at this chaos. He would say, "A man who cannot sit still will always be ruled by the man who can." The market rewards stillness. The system feeds on anxiety. Every trade you make in fear, every impulse you justify as intuition, becomes food for someone else's calm. To never lose money, you must first destroy the illusion of fairness. The market does not care about merit, about honesty, about effort. It rewards asymmetry, information, timing, leverage. Those who hold these three control the game. Those who seek equality are volunteering for defeat. Machiavelli's first law of financial defense would be this: never play a game whose rules you didn't write, because once you enter someone else's structure, every victory you think you achieve already belongs to them. Consider how systems are built today. The bank sells you security, the broker sells you speed, the media sells you panic, and every sale is a transaction not of money, but of focus. Attention is the new tax. Each time you react, you pay. Each time you click, you contribute. Each time you believe, you buy, even when you think you're only watching. That's why the wealthy stay invisible. They don't compete for attention. They own the platforms that sell it. They understand that exposure is expensive and invisibility is power. The moment you start defending your wealth publicly, explaining, justifying, proving, you've already begun to lose. True power hides behind understatement. It's the calm investor who smiles while markets burn, because he knows the fire was necessary to eliminate noise. Most people call it luck when someone doubles their wealth in a downturn. Machiavelli would call it strategy executed before the crowd awoke. The secret is preparation that looks like intuition. The wise appear lucky only because they acted before others knew there was a decision to make. The fool prays for stability. The strategist anticipates the storm. The system depends on your disbelief. It thrives when you tell yourself it can't all be rigged, but everything is rigged, not illegally, just intelligently. The frameworks of banking, taxation, advertising, and even self-help all share one function: to keep you emotionally compliant. You may think you're free, but freedom without information is just a longer leash. So how do you protect yourself? Not through paranoia, but through perception. You must learn to read between incentives. Every piece of financial advice should be translated backward. Who profits if I act on this? That one question separates those who lose from those who last. Because behind every suggestion, every motivational quote, every market prediction lies a single motive: someone trying to transfer their uncertainty to you. Machiavelli would warn you, do not moralize money. Once you attach guilt, fear, or pride to wealth, you become manipulable. The rich don't think of money as good or evil. They think of it as leverage. To them, cash is not comfort, it's weaponry. They use it to buy silence, to control timing, to eliminate dependence. The poor use money to prove worth. The rich use money to remove the need for proof. And here lies the paradox. The more emotionally attached you are to keeping money, the faster you lose it. Obsession blinds you to movement. Fear freezes your logic. The Machiavellian investor remains detached. He doesn't fall in love with an idea, a company, or even a fortune. He knows that all wealth is temporary unless it evolves. His calm is not coldness, it's survival. Every empire that fell did so from comfort. Every dynasty that crumbled did so from pride. To never lose money, you must treat prosperity like a guest, respected, but never trusted. You must watch it as Machiavelli watched fortune itself, unpredictable, feminine, demanding courage more than consistency. Fortune, he wrote, is a woman. To master her, one must be bold. Translated into finance, that means risk, wisely, but never emotionally. Wealth protection is not hoarding, it's agility. It's the ability to convert chaos into clarity before others notice. Those who cling to one form of safety, a job, an asset, a single market, are already positioned to lose. The rich diversify not out of fear, but out of control. They don't gamble on hope, they structure inevitability. Think of every loss you've ever had. Each one began long before the money left your account. It began the moment you trusted appearances, the moment you followed excitement instead of evidence, the moment you confused advice with strategy. In that instant, someone was already waiting on the other side of your decision, calm, patient, prepared. And that's the pattern Machiavelli would want you to see. Money doesn't disappear. It migrates, silently, from the emotional to the analytical, from the loud to the quiet, from the believer to the observer. The flow of wealth is the flow of awareness. The less you react, the less you lose. The modern world will never tell you this because it depends on your distraction. It will sell you fear as information, noise as insight, and urgency as wisdom. It will teach you to mistake volatility for opportunity, to trade clarity for excitement, because the moment you are stimulated, you are spending, if not your money, your focus. To never lose money, you must cultivate stillness in a culture addicted to motion. You must think like the hunter, not the prey. The hunter doesn't chase every sound in the forest. He listens, he waits, he moves only when the outcome is already written. That's how Machiavelli's princes survived, not through strength, but through silence. Silence, in finance, is leverage. Every time you speak your plan, you expose it to attack. Every time you broadcast your success, you invite envy, regulation, imitation. The rich operate in whispers. They know that visibility attracts risk. So they let the crowd believe in the illusion of luck while they orchestrate inevitability. And that's where we end this first part, in the quiet understanding that loss is not fate, but design. Most people never learn this truth because they're too busy reacting to the next crisis, the next opportunity, the next distraction. They keep losing because they mistake motion for mastery. But the Machiavellian investor sees through the noise. He knows that wealth is not defended through defense. It is defended through anticipation. In the next part, we'll uncover why most people lose money long before they even touch it, and how the richest minds in history have turned every collapse into a coronation. They call it a crash, a collapse, a correction, words designed to make you feel powerless. But to the strategist, every financial disaster is simply a transfer of discipline from the impulsive to the prepared. The masses see chaos. The Machiavellian mind sees a cleansing of illusions. Every downturn eliminates those who thought wealth was permanent, exposing the truth that stability is not a reward, but an illusion carefully sold to the obedient. Machiavelli would tell you that fortune must be managed like an army, with foresight, deception, and the courage to strike while others freeze. When people lose money, they think they lost something real. But money, like power, is not a substance, it's a relationship. It flows toward control, not effort. The poor treat money as an object to possess. The rich treat it as a force to direct. That's why no crisis ever truly harms the powerful. They don't cling to assets, they cling to positions. Assets can burn, markets can fall, but position, the ability to dictate the next movement, is indestructible. This is the hidden core of Machiavellian finance. Never protect what can be taken, protect what decides. The wise do not hoard wealth, they command its direction. They control liquidity, narrative, and timing, the three currents that define every fortune. The masses chase returns, the elite design reactions. While others panic, they reposition. They understand that wealth is not a mountain to be guarded, but a current to be redirected. Machiavelli would say that to be rich is to be the author of other people's emotions. If you can make people feel urgency, you can sell them time. If you can make them feel fear, you can sell them safety. If you can make them feel admiration, you can sell them identity. Every industry on earth thrives on these three emotions: time, fear, and admiration. And every financial empire is built on their choreography. To never lose money, you must understand this economy of emotion. The most dangerous investor is not the one who takes too much risk, but the one who believes emotion equals insight. Every market crash begins with excitement disguised as confidence. Every bubble begins with the idea that this time it's different. And every loss begins when you stop asking, who profits from my conviction? The market is not a mirror, it's a stage. Every price move, every piece of news, every expert prediction is part of a performance designed to move you. Those who write the script never appear on screen. The rich, therefore, practice emotional invisibility. They do not react publicly. They don't debate. They don't defend. They observe, they absorb, they reposition. While the crowd searches for moral explanations, fairness, justice, karma, the strategist studies structure. Because in finance, morality is often the costume of manipulation. The words ethical, sustainable, responsible, these are not guarantees of virtue, they're signals of predictability. They are the bait that attracts investors who need to feel good about giving up control. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must appear virtuous, not be virtuous. Modern wealth operates the same way. Appear generous while quietly collecting interest. Appear humble while expanding silently. Appear cautious while acquiring what others fear to touch. The appearance of virtue builds trust. Trust builds inaction. Inaction builds opportunity. Those who seem the safest are usually the most exposed. Those who seem cold and distant often hold the only clear vision. This is why the most powerful financial strategy isn't accumulation, but insulation, the art of being untouchable. The Machiavellian investor never places his fortune where it can be publicly attacked, morally judged, or emotionally manipulated. He diversifies not out of fear, but as a shield against scrutiny. He understands that transparency is a weapon used by those who have nothing to lose. The more people can see your moves, the easier they can anticipate them. To protect wealth, you must become partially invisible. Invisibility, however, is not hiding. It's design. It's shaping perception so that people look directly at you and still don't see your intentions. The rich use corporations, trusts, layers of ownership, not just for legal safety, but for psychological distance. The crowd needs to believe someone is in control. The strategist ensures that someone is never fully identifiable. The poor are visible even in victory. The rich remain unreadable even in defeat. You lose money when you become readable, when your reactions can be predicted. Your patience measured, your morality weaponized. Every scam, every collapse, every predatory deal starts with someone reading your emotions better than you read theirs. Machiavelli warned princes of the same danger. Once your enemies understand what angers or flatters you, they own you. In finance, the enemy is not a person. It's the market's collective intelligence, the swarm of perception feeding on your impulses. The second law of Machiavellian money is simple. Control attention before you control assets. Attention decides valuation, valuation decides behavior, and behavior decides transfer. That's why billionaires buy media companies, not morality lessons. Whoever controls the story controls the flow. The crowd believes in numbers, but numbers follow narrative. The wise invest not in the product, but in the perception around it. The fool asks, "What is it worth?" The strategist asks, "Who decides what it's worth?" Control the storyteller, and you never lose, even when your empire burns. Because perception can resurrect any ruin. Every corporate scandal, every collapsed brand that rebrands, every bankrupt tycoon who returns richer, all of them understand that reputation is more valuable than revenue. Revenue can be rebuilt. Narrative, once mastered, never dies. This leads to the third law. Make others believe you're playing defense when you're actually expanding. In business, survival and dominance look identical to the untrained eye. The same move that looks like retreat, cutting costs, exiting markets, downsizing, can be the foundation of a far larger repositioning. Machiavelli advised princes to appear merciful while being calculating. In finance, appearing cautious creates sympathy, stability, and lower resistance. While your rivals pity your retreat, you're already mapping the next advance. True financial power is not loud. It whispers in the corridors of timing. The rich do not predict the future. They prepare structures that profit from any future. Whether markets rise or fall, peace or chaos, one principle remains. Those who own the systems never lose. The average investor chases price. The Machiavellian investor owns the platform that sets it. That is why banks profit from both sides of every trade. They win from loans and defaults, from inflation and recession. The game is not about avoiding loss. It's about positioning yourself so that loss becomes another source of revenue. You will never protect money if you keep believing in neutrality. There is no neutral ground in finance. Every transaction has a winner. The illusion of balance keeps the masses peaceful. The reality of asymmetry keeps the powerful wealthy. Machiavelli would tell you that the path to security is not honesty, but leverage, knowing how to make others act in your interest while thinking it's their own idea. To never lose money, therefore, is not to avoid risk, but to shift it. Transfer risk to those hungry for validation. Offload volatility onto those chasing certainty. Let them buy your calm. Let them pay for your silence. That is the modern prince's art, not fighting chaos, but orchestrating who absorbs it. Think of every major financial event in your lifetime. For each loser, there was a beneficiary, a lender, an insider, a strategist who saw the storm not as threat, but as weather. The naive wait for clear skies. The powerful sail through storms because they studied wind. Wealth, like war, rewards the prepared cynic more than the hopeful believer. The path to financial immunity begins when you abandon hope as a strategy. Hope makes you sentimental. Clarity makes you sovereign. The world doesn't care about your optimism. It cares about your positioning. The Machiavellian mind operates like an engineer of human nature, anticipating not the next number, but the next emotional wave. When fear rises, liquidity dies. When greed dominates, timing collapses, so he stays opposite, buying when fear peaks, selling when euphoria blinds. It's not genius, it's discipline wrapped in detachment. This is why most people lose money long before they spend it, because they spend their composure first. They let noise dictate their next move. They let envy decide what success should look like. They let pride replace patience. And in that emotional spending, they expose their wealth to predators who see every weakness as opportunity. Machiavelli would call this psychological taxation. It's not written in any law, but it governs every economy. You pay it when you believe without verifying. You pay it when you imitate instead of analyze. You pay it when you react instead of prepare. The rich avoid this tax not through evasion, but through awareness. They know every too good to be true is true, but only for the person who wrote the rules. The ultimate shield is not secrecy, it's lucidity. When you can see through incentives, deception loses power. The Machiavellian investor never asks, what do they want me to buy, but what are they trying to make me feel? That single shift transforms vulnerability into armor. Emotion is the weapon of the market. Detachment is the counterstrike. And so, you must learn the final truth. Losing money is not the same as losing wealth. Wealth is influence, time, and autonomy. Money is its shadow. Protect the substance, and the shadow follows. Those who mistake the shadow for the source become slaves to volatility. Those who see beyond it become architects of inevitability. If you want to never lose money, you must stop trying to win. Winning is emotional. Control is structural. The world belongs to those who think beyond victory, who understand that the game itself is the real asset. Machiavelli didn't admire conquerors for their strength. He admired them for their calm during chaos. Their genius wasn't aggression. It was timing. That calm is what you must build. A cold clarity that no panic can shake, no loss can define, because wealth is not a number. It's a state of preparedness. Every moment you act without fear, every decision grounded in observation instead of emotion, you move one step closer to invincibility. And that's the real art Machiavelli would teach you today. How to become untouchable, not by earning more, but by needing less, not by trusting systems, but by mastering human nature itself. This channel isn't for followers, it's for strategists. You've already begun your transformation. Don't stop now. Subscribe, and stay 2 moves ahead of those still playing by old rules. Comment below what part of you still obeys the illusion, and which part is ready to rule it. The next video will not teach you how to earn more. It will teach you how to become untouchable.